Hi there, this is David Saleman's The Storyteller. So this is a story about my brother Jonathan, Johnny, which I only found out about this New Year's Eve when we were just chatting on the phone. I've got his permission to tell it to you, and yes, I've named him. So listen up, because it's a really good one. I want to tell you about the time Johnny discovered that success sometimes speaks with a different accent altogether. Picture this, North London, 1985, a freezing cold winter, worst ever. Every morning at 7 a.m. for his first job, Johnny would scrape the frost off his old Vauxhall Viva and drive 2 miles up to a massive stone cold warehouse. Inside the warehouse, books, thousands and thousands of them. This was before Amazon, before online shopping, when selling books meant loading your car with books and just hoping. You would then drive around trying to convince office managers to give you 5 minutes of their time so you could sell them books for their employees. I know it sounds crazy, doesn't it? How did that ever work? Sorry, we're not interested, became the soundtrack to Johnny's days. He'd walk into offices, his arms full of books, trying to make a living, one rejection at a time. The commission checks, remember checks? The numbers were so small they looked more like post-it notes. The reality was getting grimmer and grimmer by the day. Johnny would sit in his Vauxhall each morning, watching his breath freeze in the air, wondering how much longer he could keep this up. The car's heater barely worked. His shoes were wearing thin from all the walking. Some days, most days, he couldn't even afford to buy a sandwich for lunch. He'd come home exhausted, his arms sore from carrying books that nobody wanted. His spirit was crushed by another day of closed doors and turned backs. I was running out of options, he told me years later. You know that feeling when you're not just failing, but you're kind of watching yourself fail? That's where I was. He'd lie awake at night, calculating and recalculating his dwindling savings, wondering if he should just admit defeat and look for a proper job. Then this new guy joined the company, Steve from Australia. Same books, same pitch, triple the sales. People loved him. Johnny started following him around, not weirdly, but studying his technique, trying to figure out what magical sales dust Steve was sprinkling. But there was nothing different about his approach. Nothing except that Australian accent. Now most people would just give up there and say, I'm not Australian, this guy has an advantage, let's just leave it like that. But here's the thing about my brother Johnny. He has this uncanny ability to mimic voices. Years of watching TV and entertaining friends had given him an ear for accents that was about to come in very handy. One cold morning, sitting in his car, staring at the reflection in his rearview mirror, Johnny made a decision that would change everything. He opened his mouth and said, "G'day, mate." The reflection looked back at him like he was mad. Crazy. But sometimes the craziest ideas are the ones that actually work. Imagine the nerve it takes to walk into an office knowing you're about to perform the role of your life. Heart pounding, palms sweating, but the moment he opened his mouth, "G'day, have I got something special to show you?" The transformation was extraordinary. Office doors that had been shut, wow, they were now suddenly open. People who wouldn't give him the time of day were now offering him coffee. His sales didn't just improve. No, they skyrocketed. 1 month of success turned to 2, then 3 months of success. For 5 consecutive months, this North London boy with his fake Aussie accent was salesman of the month. But here's what's really interesting. It wasn't really about the accent at all. The accent just gave Johnny permission to be, well, someone else, someone confident, someone who believed in himself. Sometimes you need to become someone else to find out who you really are. So next time, if you're facing some kind of wall in your life, remember my brother and his Australian adventure, because sometimes the most unexpected solutions come with an accent. Sometimes it's just Australian. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this.